Welcome back to the studio. We are joined here with Halli Nelson, father and manager of Gunnar Nelson, the Icelandic undefeated welterweight star. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, I think most people are. And Gunnar Nelson, like I said, he's become a star. I mean, undefeated. He's got very impressive performances in the UFC. But it seems like that's not the only thing that's getting attention. People are also getting very hyped up over his aura, his mysticism, so to speak, him being very sort of reserved, or even people saying that he's the new Fedor. But I've heard that when he's at home, when he's normal, he's kind of a fun prankster, and he's not really as serious as he might come off.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's fun to be around. I mean, he jokes and everything, but he's kind of stoic personality.
Yeah.
So when he's with his friends, he's he jokes, and with his family, of course. Of course, it's always like you're always a little bit different when you're with people you don't know and stuff like that. But this is his personality. He is like that. He's very easygoing, and he doesn't get upset very easily. And I think it's with him like people have been saying with Conor McGregor. They've been asking, is Conor putting on an act? And I said, no. This is the way Conor's always been, like since I got to know him first.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Gunni. He's like this. He's very easygoing, and but he also jokes and got a very strange humor sometimes. But
Well, we got to see a little bit of it at the open workouts yesterday when he was having almost a sword fight with John Kavanagh.
Yeah, that was just decided basically on the run when they were going out, because yeah, Akira had somebody that had those swords, and they were using it in the case. I didn't see who it was.
Yeah.
But, and they just grabbed it and thought it was a lot of fun, so they decided to play around a little.
Well, it got a laugh out of a crowd, so obviously it worked.
Yeah.
Now, being both father and manager, you've been with Gunnar, from since he was born.
Yeah.
But when did you know that this was a path, that this MMA path was something to pursue full time?
Well, I've always been, enthusiastic about martial arts and much into it, and it was pretty obvious from when he was very young that he was interested in that, and we would watch some movies together when he got a little bit older, like Bruce Lee movies and Jackie Chan and stuff like that. And I kind of knew all the time that he would get into it. Of course, you never know the path people are gonna take.
Yeah.
You can always say afterwards, like, yeah, I knew he was gonna do this or do that, but it's not the case. You never know what path anyone is gonna take in life. But he was always a very good athlete and lively and everything. And he actually wanted to start to do martial arts earlier than I kind of let him, because it was like this. He was very energetic young kid, and I just think that kids like that, they should, instead of going to karate with all that form and whatever you want to call it, discipline maybe. Discipline is good, but they also need to work out some steam.
Yeah.
So I kind of got him into, like, he started doing, I didn't get him into that. He was interested in himself to do some ice hockey, and he did that for quite a few years, and that's kind of a tough sport too. It has a lot of action, a lot of speed, body contact, of course, and everything. And then when he was around 13 or going on 14, I think, then he started doing karate, and it started from there. Like within a year, he was the Icelandic champion, and he held that title as long as he did karate. But then he fell in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously, and MMA, and started doing that. And but I think sometimes people, when they're talking about both Gunni and Conor, because people seem to often talk about them in the same and they're good friends and everything. People like talking about like this happened overnight. It didn't. They've been training and competing at a pretty high level not in the UFC obviously, but at a pretty high level for quite some time. Gunnar in karate, and before he did MMA, and Connor in boxing. And Gunnar made his debut 2007 in May. I don't remember when Connor did, probably around the same time. And so they've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So even though they haven't been in the UFC for that long, this isn't like a one-night wonder.
No, well, that's something, a point that John Kavanagh has been stressing as well, that they've been with him for several years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like they just started training with him just before he came into the UFC.
John was in Gunnar's corner for his first fight in Denmark. So yeah, he's been there every step of the way.
Now, the last time we spoke with you, you said that there were many Icelandic fighters that you think can get to a very high level. Who do you think, you obviously know better than we do, who do you think is the next Icelandic fighter to make it to the UFC?
To make it to the UFC?
Yeah.
Well, we have got like several of guys who are obviously doing amateur right now, but I think you have a big, like they're gonna make some waves in the next years. We got Thor Paulson, who's just won the Shinobi belt in amateur. We got another guy named Bjarki, and he's a young kid, and he's Bjarki Ómarsson. He's like a very exciting fighter to me. He's like a little bit of mix of Gunnar and Connor. This is a good.
Sounds like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I think that kid, if he decides, if his heart takes him this way, I think he can do some great things. And there are others that are stepping up, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm sure we'll bring something on, and especially if we get MMA legalized in Iceland, which for me is the next important step for us. That's having both amateur and pro MMA, especially amateur MMA competition in Iceland, because it's been hard to get those guys to fight abroad, and for us we always have to travel. It costs a lot. People are pulling out, and for example, I have a girl now, and I think there have been like 5 girls that have pulled out a fight in the last year. So she hasn't fought for a year. She's always ready.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. So we need fights at home.
So it sounds like you have the fighters, but not the events or the opponents.
That's exactly it. Some of the events are there. It's hard to get on them, and when we get on them, we have to wait. As everybody know, buying flights is not cheap when you're flying internationally, and especially if you have to buy it with short notice. And we always have to wait because we don't know if you buy the flight, then and the fighter pulls out. You're stuck with the ticket cost, and it adds. We definitely need that.
But it sounds like under the right management and under the right training, that the Icelandic MMA wave will continue.
Oh yeah, definitely, and we're very excited to take this to the next level. We obviously MMA hasn't been around in Iceland for very long. Like our club is around 10 years old, and before we weren't ready, but now we have the fighters, we have the skills, and I often said it's with MMA, it's maybe like formula. You don't put a guy who's used to driving the streets in a Formula car and say race. He got to get some training, or put somebody in a high ski slope and let him ski down, if he's a beginner. So it's the same with MMA. You got to work the grassroots. You got to get the training going and get those athletes at a skill level where they're ready to go into the cage and fight competitively.
All right. Well, in that case, it sounds like the wave is going to continue in the coming years, and it's something I'm sure the fans at home are looking forward to seeing. The next Gunnar Nelson as well. Halli, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Fans at home, you can look forward to more interviews all week.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Cheers.